Hi guys, thanks for coming back to another video. I appreciate y'all coming back. Sorry, I haven't been online lately. I have not been putting out any videos. Not that I haven't been attempting to do so on my end, because I have. It's been great struggle on my end, great struggle to move forward. On Wednesday night, I worked for several hours to get a video out, and felt I was not able to release it. I'm not sure if it was the wrong timing for something that was in it, or if there was something in it I did not say correctly, or what, but I was not released to let that video out. The very next night, on Thursday night, I came home from work and I worked several hours to get a video out. And when I went through to try and review some of it, I didn't really like the way something was coming out, and I had forgotten to put in a couple of pieces. And so instead of editing it, I went ahead and made another video. So, but somewhere after 7 hours of working and trying to get this, at about 2:30 in the morning, it was like my video just dissipated. It was like gone. I don't know if I don't know how I would have deleted it, but somehow I can't find it. It is gone. And so I even woke my husband up in the middle of the night, help me find this video, but it was gone. So 3 o'clock in the morning on Thursday, coming into Friday, getting ready to go to work in the morning, several hours after that, I just laid my head down and said, Lord, listen, this is in your hands. If you want something to come out, then I ask you to go ahead of me and make a way for me. And so Friday, I'm still battling this sickness. It's been over a week. It's been closer to 2 weeks now, with fever, losing my voice, coughing, the whole nine. Okay, and yesterday I popped up with fever again, and was not able to. I was just exhausted. Truly, I was just exhausted. So I didn't put up the video yesterday. But today is Saturday, and today is the 7th, and today is a new day. And so I come forth before you. I have a lot to share with you. But I want to talk to you all, please, first about one thing, okay? Please keep your brothers and sisters that are on the front lines sharing the revelatory knowledge of the Word of God being given to them, the dreams, the visions, the things that they are being asked to share, the truths at this time. Please keep them in prayer. Please keep them in prayer, because we need it, okay? When we put ourselves out there on the front line and we start exposing things and we start sharing some of these truths, this new revelation, these things that the Lord is opening up for us and giving us to share, it stirs up the enemy quite a bit. There are a lot of brothers and sisters that have been under severe attack, okay? Physically, emotionally, spiritually, whatever the gamut is. But guys, I'm going to ask that you keep your brothers and sisters in Christ that are sharing the knowledge and sharing the truths, the new things that are coming out at this time, okay? It's stuff that the Lord is just opening up for us. It's been there all along, but we haven't seen it, and we didn't understand it, okay? So this is the stuff that's coming out now at this time. All right, so please keep them in prayer. It's very, very important. And for those who are on the front line, stay in prayer with the Lord. Stay right there, abiding in Him. And keep in mind, okay, about putting on that armor from head to toe. Put on that armor from head to toe. All right. Important information, guys. The Lord has been leading me. He has been guiding me. Ignore that telephone. We're going to go ahead and forge forward, because I'm not going to have the enemy interrupt me at this time. Okay, let me turn this around, because I have sent myself some information, because it was so important for me not to forget any of the pieces of this, okay? So hang on just a moment. Let me turn this around. Okay, so the first thing that I want to just kind of touch base on is in a recent video. Okay, I shared part of a message that the Lord gave me back on October 30th, 2018, and it was regarding changes. I don't know if you all saw that video or not, but I'm just going to put up here in red what part of that message that I did share that day. Okay, excuse me. He said, "My dove, it is this." I asked him questions about some things, and so he was answering me here. He said, "My dove, it is this, that you are well on your way to become like me, my way. So those in the way of your progress will be removed. I say this to ensure that you are aware of the changes upcoming." And I said, "Well, what changes, Father?" And he said, "My love, you shall be shifted." And in my mind, I thought to other duties. I wasn't sure if I heard that or if it was just my thinking, which is why I have it in brackets and a question mark. Okay. He did say, "You shall be shifted." Now, later on in that video, I was saying something. I'm saying, I wonder, I wrote down the word shifted. I felt like that's what he said. But, as we were talking about some things, I wasn't sure, was it sifted? But I'm here to tell you, no, it is not sifted. It is shifted, exactly how it's written. Okay. And so anyway, he continued on. "I say this to be true, that you will be shown unto others in the coming days, and you shall be known as I am known, my child. I shall see to it. I have come a far way to provide these things to you. I am your way, my love, and no other." Okay. So later on, after I shared that video, and that information, I was led to look up the word shift the other day, and I wanted to share my findings on what that was. And so what I have is I've just done one of those snippets here in regards to defining the word shift. And it says here to move or cause to move from one place to another, especially over a small distance. And then your synonyms here, what we have is transpose, relocate, displace. And then under here it says change the position of one's body, especially because one is nervous or uncomfortable. Okay, so I understand what that is, but let's just look at this. Change the position of one's body. Change, alter, okay? Change the emphasis or direction or focus of. Now listen to this. Change, shift, convert, divert, redirect, reverse. Very interesting. Very interesting. Change in emphasis or direction or focus. To alter, to change, to back, fluctuate, swing. Then you come down in here to where some of the nouns part is for this particular word, the noun understanding. A slight change in position, direction, or tendency. Talking about repositioning, rearrangement, change, alteration, relocation. Guys, we got a lot going on here when he's saying about a shift. Now, I am here to tell you that I know that certain people in our lives right now are being removed. I have it going on in my life. You guys probably have it going on in your life. We have those that are going to hinder our way for whatever reasons, okay? Whatever reasons they may be, for us going forward with the progression and purpose, our work for the Lord, those folks are being removed. They're being repositioned. They're being shifted out of our life. But there are those also that are being brought into our life at this time. So there is a big movement of people and connections and groupings and who we're being introduced to and who we're seeing face to face. There are some different connections and different things that are happening right now at this time. So I don't know if you guys are aware of that, but I just wanted to kind of bring that to your attention. Now, the other thing that I wanted to show you here about the word still in shift. This is what we're talking about, right? This says here one or two groups of people doing the same jobs in relay. We know that's like a shift, like shift work at a job. And then we have here the shift is a woman's straight, unwaisted dress. Take a look at this. That's pretty interesting. A robe, a gown, a garment. That word right there is what, and this robe, that kind of stood out to me a little bit. I thought that was pretty interesting. So when you come down here to the origin of it now, the origin of the word shift, it says to arrange, divide, apportion, to layer, stratify. Now look what it says here, a notion of changing one's clothes. Now guys, changing one's clothes, shift. Now that's pretty interesting. So we understand biblically what clothes may symbolize. We are told to put on the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness. We find that in Isaiah. We're told to put on the whole armor of God in Ephesians. That's what we were talking about in the beginning of this video. That God has clothed me with the garments of salvation and wrapped me in a robe of righteousness. We see that in Isaiah. And we are told to put on Christ through baptism in Galatians 3. And in continuing with that thought, to put on certain godly characteristics that are a reflection of Christ himself. So to put on then as God's chosen ones, holy and beloved, compassionate hearts, kindness, humility, meekness, and patience, which we see in Colossians 3. But one clothing imagery in particular describes the transformation of our bodies that will take place when we are resurrected from the dead. The perishable body must put on the imperishable, and the mortal body must put on immortality. And we see that in 1 Corinthians 15. It is this changing of the clothes that I now believe he was speaking of when he said that word, shift. Okay? Let's go back up and take a look at it. My love, you shall be shifted. Okay? I say this to be true, that you will be shown unto others in the coming days. You shall be known as I am known. My child, I shall see to it. I have come a far way to provide these things to you. I am your way, my love, and no other. Can you see it? Can you see it now? Okay. On the night of November the 8th, I awoke from a short dream just before midnight. Now, I know the time because I noted the dream down in the notes section. I have a little notes section in my cell phone, and I noted it down in my phone. And when I looked at it, I recognized that it was just before midnight, and I realized I had not been asleep very long. Guys, recall what I said. I've been up late trying to do videos and what have you, and going to bed somewhat late. Now, I realized I had not been asleep very long, no more than really about 30 minutes or so. So what was interesting, at least to me, was the fact that it had been given to me so quickly upon resting, not only my body, but, when you sleep, you rest everything, right? Your soul, your spirit. So it is in this dream that I wish to share with you today. And as you will see in the sharing of the rest of this video, that the Holy Spirit has led me to other things to confirm and remind what has already been given unto us to bring forth at this very time for the edifying and the encouragement in the body of Christ. So keep in mind the information about the word shifting as we are going through this video, okay? So here's the dream. I was up high. I was looking down at what seemed like a body of water. And it seemed as if it was a small body of water from my vantage point. But, I was up real high. I was up high overseeing. So the water appeared to be in the shape of a circle. Okay? When I looked down at it, it appeared to have what seemed like whales swimming all around in it. So my husband was with me when I was looking down at all of this. He was up high with me, and he was looking down at it with me. And in my mind, I had this thought, look, I can see the whales in the water. And I heard the word brim, and I'm spelling it B-R-I-M, just simply because that was the only way I knew how to spell the word brim. But that's what I heard. Now, I don't know if he said it out loud or what. I don't know, but I had to notate it because I heard it, okay? My mind went to the arena of a fish called brim. Okay, so just then my husband went down to where the water and the whales were. So we were up high. We were, let's just say, from a vantage point of looking down at water, for water to look circular and small, and for me to be able to see the whales in it. I'm up, I'm up at a good distance. Okay. Now he left me and he went down to where the water and the whales were. And I remained up high observing. I had picked up some type of a net, one with a pole and had a net at the end, and I was looking to see if the net needed repair. That's what I was looking to see, and that was the end of the dream. So now, one particular note I just want to say, typically when I dream of my husband, not all the time, guys, but for the majority of the time, it is the Lord being represented in my dream. Okay. I do believe it was him in this dream. So I was with the Lord and I was watching over what he was doing. He went down to the water around where the animals are. And I realized later that when I was thinking upon this dream, that the Lord was going before me, as in Deuteronomy 31. I saw him right by the water. Okay. All right. So let's take a look at the word brim, because this is going to be pretty interesting. This is the only way I knew how to spell it. I didn't know what else there was. My mind went to actually the fish. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and go into that too. But I do want to bring this up here because this is interesting too. Brim as a definition, it's the projecting edge around the bottom of a hat. The upper edge of a lip of a cup, a bowl, or some other container, the rim, the lip, the brink, the edge, the margin. It says here to a point of overflowing, to fill up, to be up to the brim of something. But notice the origin here, which I thought was interesting, denoting the edge of the sea or other body of water. Now, that's what I was looking at, right? I was looking at this circular sea. That's what I was looking at. But I'm going to tell you what came to mind with this, okay? What came to mind with this was the fact that the Lord had told me about places of safety some time back. I don't know if you guys have gone or had the opportunity to go through some of those messages. I did submit a Google Docs link one time through one of these videos where I had cut and pasted all of those places of safety messages. But he told me I was going to the outer edge. He told me I was going to the outer rim. Y'all remember that? When he was giving me the information about Zanzibar. And Zanzibar is that tropical island. Recall, he said Zanzibar was that place of safety, and he told me it was the outer rim. Y'all remember that? So when I saw this, and it's speaking of the edge of the sea or other body of water, that is exactly where my mind went, okay, when I saw this part. But let's continue forward, because when I went to look up what the word for the fish was, it was spelled a different way. So when I was thinking brim fish, it really was brim fish. Okay, so I did look it up in Merriam-Webster, the definition of brim. So I'm just going to go ahead and pull it up for you here. And so let's go up here. So brim, okay, a bronze-colored European freshwater fish. Okay, so I knew there was a brim fish. I don't recall ever seeing one. I probably have. I couldn't pick it out in a lineup, though, I can tell you that. But, hey. So it's various freshwater sunfishes. Specifically, they have one called a bluegill. And I thought that was interesting. So these are all brims, right? And as I'm going down here, I'm also seeing what else it means to clean a ship's bottom. It also comes down in here where we come to the history and etymology for the word brim. Now, when I saw this, I thought, well, what in the world? So first off, it's linked to this word here, and it means to shine. So I thought, wow, that's pretty interesting. Wow, right? And so then for the verb, it says it means furze, F-U-R-Z-E, from the use of burning furs in the cleaning. And I'm like, wait a minute now. We've been talking about the tabernacle. We've been talking about being able to enter into the Holy of Holies. We understand that that last 1/3 is the fire baptism. So this was pretty interesting to me to be popping up all of a sudden. So now I'm like, well, what in the world is a furze? Well, what is that? So, of course, I had to look up to see what a furze was. And when I typed in define furze, my definition is another term for a gorse. And I'm like, well, what's a gorse? I had no idea. So, of course, I had to go in and type in what gorse was. Now, guys, take a look at my origin here. Tell me what it is. It's barley. It's barley. So now, when I came back to that dream and I heard the word brim, I knew it was a fish. I go down. Brim is representing barley. Now, guys, I mean, I had no idea. But we know that the barley is the first fruits. We know that the barley is the first fruits, right? Let's continue. So now when we were looking at the waters can represent a lot of different things, guys. We know that, okay? When in the Bible, there's certain things that it does, and I've just kind of selected a few. We know that it can represent the Spirit of God. We know that it can represent the Holy Spirit. We know that it can be, the waters can be identified as living waters, which could be Jesus himself. It can represent truth. It can represent knowledge, a lot of different things, guys. And so I just want you to keep that in mind. So now, when I awoke that morning, okay, that next morning, after I had had that dream about the whales and the water and everything, I noticed my phone screen image had changed, okay? I got some type of program that links it to my computer, and I have updates of images on as a desktop on my computer, and I have some on my phone. Now, they don't match. I don't know why the images don't change the same, but they don't. Pardon me. This is the image that came up on November the 8th on my phone. As soon as I picked it up, this was the image that I had. I had that dream about the whales, and then this is the image that I saw. Can you guys see that? These are manatee right here in this water at this tropical island here. These are manatee. I tried to remove some of that off of there so you could see the image itself. Can you see that? So now, guys, when I saw that image, it immediately popped into my mind a dream that the Lord gave me last year. Okay, I say December 2017. I didn't remember when I had it, but I knew I had it because I've only had one manatee dream in my whole life. Okay, only one. And so when I see this manatee, immediately he brought it back to my remembrance about that dream. All right. So guys, remember my computer died not long ago. I only had it 2 years, maybe a little less than 2 years, and it just completely died. It took a lot of my stuff out of it. We were able to get some of it back. But when the Lord reminded me of this dream when I first woke up, I don't know, 6-something in the morning, 6:30, something like that, I knew I had shared this dream with my friend Lou to get an interpretation off of it. So I knew to go into my email to see if I can find some type of an email chain back and forth so that I could determine where it was in my journals so that I could find it. So, guys, I need to let you know I did find it. I found it in December of 2017. Okay, this dream has not been shared publicly until right now. Okay, I didn't feel led to share it. It was put on the back burner, so to speak. And since he is reminding me of it now, and it is linking to what some other things he is showing me at this time, I am understanding it is now time for it to be released. It is time. It is for this time right now. Okay, all right. So in the blue is the dream. So let's go ahead and read it over. So on the 16th of December 2017, this dream started out. I was walking at a place, and my husband Lee, he was at my right side. And on my left, I saw 4 policemen sitting in chairs watching a water show. The animals that were performing were not dolphins, but manatee. We were walking into the water that I thought would be that I thought was going to be cold, but it was not. It was a large circle of water around something in the middle where the animals performed at one end, and you could exit out of the water on the other end. So my husband went ahead of me. Again, Deuteronomy. My husband went ahead of me, and I had a manatee swim up through my legs, carrying me a short way. And I thought, how wonderful. I swam and went past the place where I should have gotten out. So I doubled back, I went back, and the manatee grabbed my finger. He didn't bite it, but it seemed like he was trying to keep me there in the water. So I just petted the animal, and it released my finger, and I went up the stairs on the opposite end of the water to exit. I went over a hill to find my husband, and what I found was his wallet, phone, and several credit cards laying on the ground. I ran to where the stuff was, and I started gathering it. And in my mind, I could not comprehend what had just happened. Was he taken? I cleared my mind enough to think I must call 911, and that was the end of the dream. Now, when I sent this dream to my friend Lou on the 16th of December, I didn't remember a certain part. I don't know if the Lord gave it to me in a dream on the 18th, or if he just allowed me to remember something that was not given to me for remembrance until the 18th. But it was important that I notate and let you know that this information was 2 days later. Okay? This information was 2 days later. Okay? I had gotten a hold of Lou a couple of days later on the 18th to include something I had forgotten about the dream. The Lord allowed me to recall another part that, looking back on it now, was also one of the more important parts. Praise God for his faithfulness. I told Lou, I think the police may have been security, but there was definitely 4 of them. And I had a question that came to mind, and I asked her, 4 corners? As I continued, I also said, as we were getting into the water, I saw across the water, just beside the water, people were wearing Hawaiian shirts. I thought to myself, that is neat. But this is not Hawaii. That is where I'm going next week. So in truth, when I told Lou that, she actually thought I really was going to Hawaii, right? In the physical, right now, on a trip for something. But no, that was what I said in the dream, okay? This is not Hawaii, but that is where I'm going next week. Okay. Note that the date of the dream was received on December 16th. 1 week from the 16th is December 23rd, just before Christmas. Okay? 1 week from the 18th, 2 days later, is Christmas. Okay? So the year prior, around Christmas, and I'd have to go back and look at the date, and I will see if I can find that date. He gave me a song because I was looking for coupons in my mailings in regards to tickets, right? Recall me telling you guys I was looking through all the junk mail and everything else. I was looking for some type of a sign in regards to the tickets. And what did he do? He gave me the song from Eddie Money, 2 Tickets to Paradise. Recall that? Let me see. I'm going to pause this video and see if I can find that date. Hang on. Oh, guys, I'm sorry. I just paused this video to go look again to see if I could find where it was. I need to figure out what year it was. I have, I don't know, probably about 5 years worth of journals and messages and binders and all different kinds of things. So it might take me a little bit longer to find it if you're interested in the date. But anyway, let's go ahead and continue forward. We got a lot to cover here. All right, so when pondering upon the whales that were in the dream that I had most recently from being high up and looking down in the water, I said, I see whales, right? And manatee images in the dream. I was led of the Lord to define the word manatee. So here is the definition that I found at Collins Dictionary, and it's right here in green. It says a manatee is a mammal which lives in the sea and looks like a small whale with a broad flat tail. I was so glad he led me to look that up because I'm like, wait a minute now. One dream that you give me is a manatee and the other is a whale, but he's telling me now. And he's having me understand that these are connected. These two dreams right here are connected. Okay, so that definition seemed to answer a question that I had in my mind. And so what I saw from a distance then was the same animal he gave me in the dream about last year, a manatee. Okay, so what was it about this animal then I was to know? Obviously something, because this is not like a normal everyday animal that I would see or even be around. As a matter of fact, I may have seen one in an aquarium somewhere, but, not really paying attention. I've, seen many animals in an aquarium. So what's he trying to say? This is significant. It's not a dog, a cat. This is something, not any normal household animal. It is significant. So in the green here, I just went through off of Wikipedia. I've provided you the link if you're interested in going to look at it. So manatees, okay, are large, fully aquatic, mostly marine mammals known as sea cows. There are 3 accepted living species representing 3 of the 4 living species in the order of Cyrenia. It goes in to tell you the 3 different species and how big they measure. They measure up to 4 meters, 13 feet long, weigh as much as 1,300 pounds. They have paddle-like flippers. But now here, the etymology of the name is dubious, with connections having been made to Latin manus, meaning hand, and to the word sometimes cited as manatee, used by the pre-Columbian people of the Caribbean, meaning breast. Okay, so when we see a manatee, we're thinking hand and breast. That is what they are symbolizing. So manatees are occasionally called sea cows, as they are slow plant eaters, peaceful, similar to cows on land. They often graze on water plants in tropical seas. And so I just kind of put a couple of pictures here of them. And this is exactly what was in that water. And they were very docile. I was not afraid of them. They were very social animals, very docile animals. No aggression in them at all that I could tell in my dream, at least. Okay, very, very meek, very humble seeming animals. All right. So when defining the word hand and the word breast, I found many definitions and synonyms because, I'm going to dig into it because that's pretty much where the Lord was leading me. So for the hand, what I found was that it was control, power, authority, command, guardianship, management, care, supervision, and possession. And for the breast, it was chest, core, heart, soul, and bosom. So I had the thought of Abraham's bosom come to mind, right? And through some of the discussions that I had with Lou last year in regards to this, because recall that other manatee dream was received last year, she too had that leading about Abraham's bosom. Okay, so I found some information that seemed to link the hand and the bosom spiritually and biblically that I thought you might like to see. Now, here's the link that I received it from. Okay, and so you guys can take that and go look it up yourselves. But I'm going to provide just what I cut and pasted out of it. Okay. So the significance of the hand. Now notice I pulled up the word bosom, and it's coming up hand and bosom in this description. So I thought that was really interesting. So the signification of the hand is power, and the significance of bosom is love. For that which is of the breast corresponds to love, because therein the heart, which corresponds to celestial love, and the lungs, which correspond to spiritual love. And as from this the bosom corresponds to love, it is also signified by man's own, for that is man's own which is of his love. Therefore, hereby bringing the hand into the bosom is signified that it is the appropriation of truth. It's plain from what follows, and also from the fact that spiritual power consists in truth. Okay, so the second thing, that the bosom denotes the very thing which belongs to man, thus his own, and from this appropriation and conjunction by love is evident from the following passages. Confide ye not in a companion, put not trust in a guide. Keep the doors of thy mouth from her that lieth in thy bosom, which is Micah 7. Where she that lieth in the bosom denotes one that has been conjoined with him by means of love. For this also a wife is called a wife of her husband's bosom, Deuteronomy 28, 2 Samuel. And a husband is called the husband of his wife's bosom. And this because one belongs to the other. Okay, so I have to stop there. Let's recall what the shifting was. Let's recall what we thought that was, okay? And as we're coming through now, we're going and understanding now what these manatee are really starting to represent, okay? In David, and in David, my prayer shall fall back upon my bosom, for Psalms 35, meaning that it would return to himself. Remember, Lord, the reproach of thy servants. How do I bear in my bosom all the great peoples? Meaning with himself as his own. And in Isaiah, he feedeth his flock like a shepherd. He gathered the lambs in his arm and carried them in his bosom. Where the sense is the same in Luke, give, and it shall be given to you, good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over, shall be given into your bosom. And to be given into the bosom denotes for themselves as their own. In the same, and it came to pass Lazarus died and was carried by the angel into Abraham's bosom. Now note that is the same thing that Lou and I were thinking about as well. To be carried into Abraham's bosom denotes to the Lord, who was meant by Abraham, from the conjunction through love. And in John, there was lying in Jesus' bosom one of his disciples, whom Jesus loved. He, leaning on Jesus' breast, saying unto him, Lord, who is it? And to lie in the bosom manifestly denotes to be loved and to be conjoined through love. Again, no one hath ever seen God, the only begotten Son, who is in the bosom of the Father. He has sent him forth. In the bosom of the Father denotes to be one. So the bosom denotes the very thing which belongs to man, and also appropriation, not by love, in the following passages. And it goes in to talk about recompense. So if we look at the hand in the bosom and we see what it denotes, and we see and understand what it could be pointing to, and we already talked about what the water symbolism could possibly be, and that it denotes to be one, then guys, I just need to submit this for your discernment. I need for you to ponder upon this. I need for you to think about the deeper things in this at this time. Okay? So I think when reading all this, we can get a visual of what is about to happen. It is the very thing that we have been discussing for quite some time, the very thing that we are expecting to happen, and now seems to be arriving on the scene. So let's incorporate the interpretation of the dream as well to give the full perspective now, because what's listed in red here from that December 16th dream is the interpretation from my friend Lou. Okay? I received the interpretation from her on the 19th. So the dream started out, I was walking at a place and my husband Lee, Jesus, was at my right side. On my left, I saw 4 policemen sitting on chairs watching a water show. These are the angels that have gathered the elect from the 4 corners. They are all together, which means this is where we have all been gathered. Okay, this is where we have been gathered. The animals that were performing were not dolphins, but manatee. We were walking into the water that I thought was going to be cold, but it was not. This is representing our mikvah, stepping into the living water. It was a large circle of water around something in the middle where the animals performed at one end and you could exit out the other. My husband went ahead of me, and I had a manatee swim up through my legs, carrying me a short way. So now we understand now what the manatee is representing. It's representing the hand and the breast, okay? This is carrying me, okay? Those that are in the Lord's hands carried into Abraham's bosom, into our rest in the Lord, the 8th day. I thought, how wonderful. I swam and went past the place that I should get out. So I did double back to get out where I was supposed to. She said, I like this bit. You went past where you should get out. This is us staying for a long time and then stepping back into time. I went back. The manatee grabbed my finger, not biting it, but seeming to keep me here. It finally released my finger. And she said this was the animal basically saying, stay here with me. It feels like a game children play. We are the manifest sons and daughters of God. I went up the stairs to exit and went over a hill to find my husband. I was looking for him, remember? This is where we go back into the world. I heard over the hump. So she was hearing over the hump, over the most difficult part. Find your husband equals bringing in his kingdom. What I found was his wallet, phone, and several credit cards laying on the ground. These are the things he gifts us with in the earth when we return. His wallet, his ID, his authority, his name, remember? We will be like him. Phone means that we're going to be in constant contact with him. Credit cards, his account, storehouses of heaven, whatever we need, fully provided. The Lord supplies all. Now I said in the dream he was gone. So the Holy Spirit taken out of the world. I ran to where his stuff was and I started gathering it. Speaks of catastrophic events and lack of provision here on earth. We will gather what is needed for those of the Lord. In my mind, I could not comprehend what just happened. These events will entirely change the world. Devastation. Was he taken? I questioned. I cleared my mind enough to think I must call 911. And she said, is it a false flag? Some type of emergency, but whatever it is, it's the first responders. It's the first responders coming on the scene. Okay? And that was the end of the dream. So the over the hump that she heard when she was reading this dream, the Lord had told her over the hump. That particular idiom means past the most difficult part of something, such as a project or a job, and where I found that was in Merriam-Webster. So when we return back to the world, infilled and strengthened by Him, His Spirit, okay, we will be over the most difficult part of something, okay? We will now be walking in Him, in His strength, by His power, with His words, and providing Him through us unto others. We will walk in Him. we will abide in him to do what is needed for him at this time. Amen. So let's speak on this mikvah, right? Let's talk about this mikvah, the stepping into the living water. The short definition of this is a bath used for the purpose of ritual immersion in Judaism to achieve ritual purity. Now, I've spoken in times past of my study regarding the mikvah, and I made mention some time back digging into what that was all about. I actually was led to it again just recently, and I showed you the whole printout that I printed off from Wikipedia regarding mikvah, and I provide the link for you. Guys, go into it. There's a lot of information in there. So what I'm understanding through some of that study through Wiki and some of the other sites is that most forms of impurity can be nullified through immersion in any natural collection of water. However, there are some impurities that require living water, such as springs of groundwater wells. So living water has the further advantage of being able to purify even while flowing, as opposed to rainwater that must be stationary in order to purify. So the mikvah is designed to simplify this requirement by providing a bathing facility that remains in ritual contact with the natural source of water. So now what I've provided here is just kind of some of the older type mikvahs that you can find online. But guys, there are those in bigger cities. They have places where you can go and make an appointment and go and do a mikvah. A lot of people still do it just before they get married, after the required time of menstruation. I mean, there's all different kinds of times that they would go in and do this. So this is just kind of an image to show you the collection of water and that's all that it is. It's just you step in, you immerse yourself, however many times you're supposed to immerse yourself, and then you come out in it, and that's it. But now this image here that I wanted to show you, this is courtesy of the Israel Antiquities Authority. This image is a picture of a 2,000-year-old ritual bath that was used by thousands of Jews for the festivals and other occasions. Guys, this was just uncovered 20 meters from the Western Wall, and that's what those guys are doing. Amazing. But you can see the steps. Can you see the difference? You can see the steps coming down. You can see the steps going down. So here they're unearthing it. 20 meters from the Western Wall. Amazing. Amazing stuff. Okay. So just as there are certain things that need to be purified and certain waters that need to be used, there's also certain requirements during the use of a mikvah. And I can recall back several years ago that the Lord told me when I was in prayer with him, he told me to get as close to being back to natural as was physically possible. Now, guys, at that time, I kind of understood part what I needed to understand. But now my understanding of this has grown, okay? I know that when he was telling me that, it was because it was in relation to the mikvah. That's what he was talking to me about. I used to have acrylic nails. I used to groom them monthly, sometimes even every other week, with impeccable polish on my fingers and my toes. I used to wear a lot of nice makeup, hair, skin products, as well as a lot of perfumes and jewelry. I used to go through and color my hair, keep the gray out. You guys can go back to some of these other videos and see where I had the darker color hair and where I was then starting just to put highlights in so that I could allow my gray to come in. And now that you guys can see my whole gray, I mean, I'm coming back to the basics, okay? I'm coming back to what the Lord asked me to do, and it's taken me some time to do it, okay? I didn't start on everything all at once. I did one thing, I did another, I did another, I did another, I did another. And when he said, come back to to natural as best as you possibly can. I mean, guys, obviously I still use deodorant. I don't feel comfortable going without it. So that is one that I try to have on. Every now and then I do have my watch on. I do have my wedding band on. Uh, But guys, even then, I don't wear that all the time. Every now and then I will put some perfume on, but very, very rarely, So guys, this is what I'm talking about, okay? This is what I'm talking about, because the requirements of the mikvah is something there's certain things that you can't have. So with all of these other things that have been basically laid down at one point or another. I mean, I'm still working on it, obviously. But there's supposed to be no barrier between the person immersing and the water. No barrier whatsoever. So if you have lotion on your skin, that's a barrier. So there can be no lotion on your skin. If you have acrylic nails on, then there's a barrier. So you cannot have that. Some people think about, weave in their hair or any makeup on their skin, on and on and on. So this is what I'm trying to tell you. And this is what the Lord was leading me to some time back. There is to be no barrier between the person immersing and the water. And so the person should not be wearing any, first off, no clothes, right? Jewelry, makeup, nail polish, any type of fake nails, grooming products on the hair or the skin. So there's a whole long laundry list, a checkoff list that you can go through if you're interested in going and doing a mikvah. And they have it. It's online. You guys can check it out. Because when the Lord first told me, I'm like, well, what are you talking about? And so that's the reason why I'm bringing it up. Because he told me and instructed me several years back. And that is the reason why, is because he was introducing me to the mikvah and trying to have me understand it. Okay? So, for more observant Jewish women, an attendant will assure that these requirements are met. And showering or bathing and carefully checking the whole body is therefore part of the religious requirements before entering the water of a mikvah for women. It appears from the manatee dream with the animals in the water that the mikvah itself is a very important process. It is one where we are loved, will be conjoined through love, and will be one with love. He will be carrying us through. Okay? The Lord Jesus Christ has told me that. He's told me time and time again, you will go upon the water and the waves, and I will carry you through. He tells me that all the time. And so I know that this is going to be something very, very significant. So now, notice in both of those dreams, right? The one recently received on November the 8th and the one last year, both of these areas of water mentioned they were both identified or shown to me to be circular. So why a circle? I mean, what's the significance of that? I didn't really understand. So in defining what a circle might represent spiritually or biblically, symbolizing biblically, I came across some interesting finds. So this is the link. This is the link right here where first I went into King James Version Dictionary. It provided a ton of information regarding all different aspects of what a circle could be. I'm telling you guys, go in and take a look at it. It was a ton of them. It was way too long for me to provide here. But really only one seemed to jump off the page at me. And I want to tell you what that was. Circle in the terms of to encircle, to encompass, to surround, to enclose, to circle in, to confine, to keep together. Now, I believe the reason why that jumped off at me is because of the amount of messages that the Lord has provided over the years, that he has used this very language to encompass, to surround, him around us, to protect us in him abiding. So I'm seeing now some of the things that he's been talking to me about, connecting to this circle, and what does that mean, and why is he showing this to us? So I kept digging. I kept digging in, and with that in mind, I came across this in my studies. You guys can go in and take a look at this here. It's talking about circles. This is the name of it. The Institute of Biblical and Scientific Studies, speaking on Genesis 1, verses 9 through 13, day 3, regarding the circle of the sea. Okay, so everything here in green is from that particular article. A couple of things I want to show you here. Job 26:10 states, "He has inscribed a circle on the surface of the waters as the boundary between light and darkness." So here, GH represents the horizon separating light from darkness. The Hebrew word GH means circle, and it seems very remote that it means sphere because of the context. And there is a better Hebrew word for sphere, which is RWD. In Isaiah 22:18, the word RWD is translated ball. So if the LXX translators understood GH as sphere, they would have used the Greek word, I'm not going to attempt to say it, okay? They would have used this word. Plugging the meaning of sphere into every passage that GH occurs will result in awkward interpretations. So the LXX in Job 26 says, "By decree he encompassed the surface of the waters until the end of light and darkness." The Septuagint version 1970 edition, page 684. The LXX changes the literal into a verbal response. The physical circle becomes a decree. So let's continue on. The Vulgate says, which I translate, "He encompasses the end of the water all the way until light and darkness comes to an end." Now that's a slightly different view of the verse as well. Another occurrence of GH is in Proverbs 8:27, which says, "When he inscribed a circle upon the surface of the deep." So the parallel of these verses helps us to better understand the meaning. Proverbs 8:27 through 29 says, "When he prepared the heavens, I was there. When he set a compass upon the face of the deep. When he established the clouds above, when he strengthened the fountains of the deep, when he gave to the sea his decree, that the waters should not pass his commandment, when he appointed the foundations of the earth." So the LXX says, "and when he prepared his throne on the winds." So the wide diversion might suggest an underlying different text type here. So what is really interesting here, where he's saying, "and when he set a compass," okay, "upon the face of the earth." When I went into Strong's to take a look at the word circle, that is what the word circle meant, to encircle, to draw a circle around something, okay? Compass, okay? So let's continue on. The Vulgate says, which I translate, "When with a certain law and circle he enclosed the abyss." So the words decree and circle seem to be parallel terms, which may be a result of the conflation. So here's another passage that seems to indicate that the sea is circular. 1 Kings 7:23 says, "He made the sea of cast metal, circular in shape, measuring 10 cubits from rim to rim and 5 cubits high. The bronze basin represents the sea and is called the sea. This parallels the laver in the Babylonian temples. The phrase from sea to sea seems to assume the sea surrounding the earth. The earth is in the middle with an ocean on each side. Zechariah 14 names them as the Eastern Sea and the Western Sea. The Babylonians describe the earth encircling sea from the lower sea to the upper sea." Heaven is opposite the deep, and they meet at the horizon, which is circular. The horizon was not only the boundary between heaven and earth, light and darkness, but also a link between the dome of heaven and the surface of the earth and the sea. The phrases circle of the seas and circle of the deep seem to be parallel in meaning. Sea and deep are sometimes used synonymously. These phrases refer to the circular horizon which forms the boundary line between heaven and earth. Okay, I got to say that again. These phrases refer to the circular horizon which forms the boundary line between heaven and earth. Recall that the Lord said to me about the outer rim. It was the place of safety. Okay? The sea is said to have doors and bars to keep the water from overflowing in Job 38, which say, and this speaks of, who shut the sea behind doors when it burst forth from the womb? When I made the clouds in garment and wrapped it in thick darkness, when I fixed limits for it and set its doors and bars in place, when I said, this far you may come and no farther. Here is where your proud waves halt. Recall that that was God speaking to Job, trying to get him to remember some things. So, guys, very interesting information in regards to the circle. Seek the Lord on that. I'm going to be continuing to seek the Lord on it. I wanted to just show you what I found. However, it does speak of the laver in the temples. And so let's take a look at a couple of images that I did find in regards to the laver. And that is very, very interesting because, you know, guys, I never really thought about it. All of the other things that the Lord, excuse me, all the other things that Father God ensured was in the Bible. Specific ways to build something, so many cubits, so many this, so many that, perfect square, this or that or whatever. The only thing that I have seen circle is this, the laver. That is the only thing. Very, very interesting. It was a light bulb going off for me. I was like, what? I hadn't even thought about it. But guys, go back and look at it. It's the only round thing that's there. So it could look like this. It could like this, because the priests had to wash their hands and their feet. Recall. When I went into the site where they're talking about building the third temple for Israel, this particular laver is what they provided, this image, which I thought was very interesting. It is still round. It is still made of copper because that was the instruction, that was the mandate of it. This one had particular spigots around. Some of the ones that were in the older tabernacles did have a couple of spigots on it. I thought this was very, very interesting. So I wanted to provide that for you as well. Okay, so the bronze laver, right, in the tabernacle, it served one great purpose, and that was the washing and cleansing of the priest from all defilement. I was not able to find the instructions as to the circular shape in Scripture or anywhere else, but interestingly enough, it is. So the laver is defined biblically, specifically really, in regards to the temple as a sacred wash bowl of the tabernacle and temple, and constructed only of copper. So now, guys, I want to share kind of where my thoughts went in regards to that circle. Last night, while laying down to go to bed, just kind of in thought prayer to the Lord, and again this morning raising up in thought prayer to the Lord, the circle came to mind, and what came to mind was ark, A-R-C. And then what came to mind is that is the ark, A-R-K. And I thought the covering, our covering. He encompasses us in and abiding in Him, one. Is this our marriage? Is this our merge? Is this our time of change? Do you guys remember that song I just provided for you in the other video? Toad the Wet Sprocket. The let me see if I can find that. Let me pull that up right quick. Hang on.